The third part of the training involves the actual area where you calculate your pricing. So if you look at the PDF help file that comes with all the emails and with the Laser Costing Pro, I think it's called Laser Costing Pro Info, we'll see that on page 3 it shows you that step number 1 is where you enter in your material type, your length and your breadth. You also enter in your total cutting length, you enter in your speed. The system calculates the amount of minutes for you using your material costs and cost per minute that you worked out previously and a material markup. It works out a price of the material for you. The step marked in yellow over here is where you put in your engraving. You put a yes if you are engraving, no if you are not engraving. You enter in your length and breadth or length and width of your engraving piece, and you put in the speed, and then using the area and the cost per minute, the system then calculates your engraving cost for you. It then adds everything together and gives you a total selling price. If you are painting that piece over there, you would select your paint color from a drop down, and the system would then calculate your painting costs and add your painting costs to your total material and cutting price over there, thus giving you a total cost for the item. Let's look at that in practice. So if we are here on our Laser Costing Pro on pricing, let's say we wanted to do a 200 by 100 rectangle. We wanted to do it out of 3mm MDF white. I know that the perimeter of that rectangle would be 200 times 2 plus 100 times 2, which is 245, which is 600 millimeters. I'm going to cut at 10 millimeters a second. It's going to take me 1 minute to do that cut. I'm using a material markup of 2, meaning that if I pay 10 Rand for a piece of wood, I'm selling the piece of wood for 20 Rand. So over here, it gives me the price of the material, and over here, it gives me the price of the cutting. You will see that those prices are down here, summarized for you there, giving you a total selling price of 8.63 Rand. I would probably round that off to 10 Rand. Now let's say we want to do an engraving on that piece of wood. I would never engrave the full 200 by 200. I'll probably leave a border. So let's make a 20mm border, which will give us 160, and that'll be 60. I'm going to engrave at 300 millimeters a second, and then over there you'll see it works me out the engraving price. The engraving price doesn't matter what material you are engraving on, because engraving is engraving and it takes the same amount of time regardless of the material, because it's based on your engraving speed. So then it gives you the total material price. If it were painted, it would give you the total price of the material, the cutting and the engraving with the paint all together in one place. Let me put my engraving back off again. Let's say I wanted to make a box, and I'm going to make it out of 6mm, a nice strong box. I'm going to make it out of 200. I want to make a square box, 200 by 200 by 200. And then over here you will see that it tells me that the cost of my material is 70 Rand. The cutting time, it will be 43.50 Rand for a total selling price of 113 Rand. So this cutting time takes into account the perimeter of all 6 parts of a basic box and divides that by the cutting time and multiplies it by your cost per minute, thus giving you a time. So if I made this box out of 3mm brown, you'll see that the price is almost half. If I had to engrave on the lid of that box, I could come here, put my engraving back on. I am only going to engrave a 100 by 100 piece on there at 300 millimeters a second. Gives me my engraving price and gives me a selling price of 173. If I wanted to paint the box, I would have to put that box into Corel or Inkscape, whatever, and get the area of the box. I know that the area of a box like that would be 600 millimeters in length and 400 millimeters high, because you'd have 6 parts, so 2, 4, 6, 2, 4, 6, so you'd have 600 by 400. That gives me the area for painting. So now my box would be the 173 Rand plus the 50 Rand, giving me a total box price of 223 Rand and 92 cents.